Welcome to this session, which aims to give a selection of effective revision tips for you to try out in the run-up to your assessments. It's important to note that not all of the tips explained here will work for everyone, and you should practice using a variety of them until you find one that works well. So, first things first, where do you start? It can often seem quite daunting having all that information to learn. So cut it down into sections, which could be different topic areas for instance. Use the specification or exam content to help you. Then, you need to put the topics into an order, from those that you feel you know best to those that you know least. You could do this using post-it notes perhaps. Now, there is a tendency to start with the topics that you like and feel you know best. But for revision to be effective, you need to start with the stuff you know least. Sure, you will feel like you've done some great revision if you spend an hour looking over the things you're confident with. But if you are really honest with yourself, that time would be much better spent on the stuff you don't know that well. So, now you know what you have to revise, let's look at some tips to make revision strategies work well. Number 1. Don't spend too long on a topic. It's best to do 20 minutes, then take a short break before doing another 20 minutes again, followed by another short break. You will switch off if you try to spend the whole hour doing something. Also, study multiple topics or subjects per day, rather than spending 5 hours on psychology for instance. Number 2. Put a plan in place. A revision timetable will help keep you focused and help you realise that the daunting task of learning all that information is possible if you break it down into smaller parts. Number 3. Start early. The more time you allow yourself to cover the material, the more time you have to practice knowledge you already know. Number 4. Practice. Sometimes, students do not see the point of writing the answer to a question or essay that they've done before. But think about it. Do you think our best musicians learn to play something once and then go on to perform it on stage? Or our best tennis players learn how to serve and then go to compete in a match? No, they repeat things over and over until they are confident. It's the same with revision. So now let's take a look at some revision strategies. Look, cover, write, check. This is the same way many people learned to spell when they were young. If you have a diagram, series of dates, codes or quotes to remember, then study it, knowing that you are going to try and draw it out again soon. Then, when you're ready, cover up the answer and write down what you can recall. Then check your response with the correct answer. Repeat this strategy several times until you are no longer making errors. It's worth noting that this method won't work for large amounts of information, so for that, you'll need to use a different strategy. Next, flashcards. This is where you break up the content into small chunks and write the information on a series of cards, which you keep reading again and again. Put a question on one side and the answer on the other. One of the great things about this revision tactic is that you can keep testing yourself whilst on the go, or even get someone else to quiz you. Another strategy is cued recall, where you draw a sketch, shape or symbol next to something that you're trying to remember. In time, you will start to associate that symbol with the information. This will allow you to visualise the symbol in the exam and then recall the information. The weirder and more bizarre the symbol is, the better this method can work. You can also turn your notes into stories. If you have a sequence of events or a model that explains a process, try creating a children's story with characters named after the key terms that have to go on a journey through each stage. This is more effective than copying up notes, as you are actively doing something with the information rather than passively copying it. Admit it, how often do you drift off thinking of something else when you are copying up notes? Next, friendly arguments. For subjects where you have to express opinions, pair up with a friend and plan to have a discussion. Both pick a side to the argument, then discuss the topic, suggesting alternative points. Discussing them out loud will help when it comes to writing your arguments or opinions down in your answers. Next, if you are really struggling to remember a concept or maybe an important equation, then write it on a piece of paper and stick it somewhere that you'll see every day, like next to a mirror or even next to your bed. That way, it will be the last thing you see before going to bed and the first thing you see when you wake up. Thinking about the information subconsciously can help you remember it. Another great way to really solidify your understanding of a topic is to teach it to someone else. Try explaining a topic to a friend or family member. If they can understand it from your teaching, then you'll know that you definitely understand it. This method works well if you revise with a partner. You can check your understanding, and saying it out loud makes you think about the information more. It's also a good idea to put the information into a presentation that you can deliver. This helps you organise the information into important chunks. There's also mind mapping, which is useful when revising big topics. Pick a topic that has several different ideas, such as if there are a bunch of competing explanations for a mental disorder like schizophrenia. Write down the disorder in the middle, and then put the different explanations and things associated with them on strands that link back to the centre. Use model answers to write your own responses. Practice writing your own, then revisit the model answer to see if you included the same or similar ideas, and if your answer was structured in a similar way and was of a similar length. They are model answers as they show you what's expected. For many exams, there are questions from past papers that you can use to give you an idea of what style of questions you may face in your assessment. You should aim to answer some past paper questions for each exam that you'll be sitting, as it will really help with your revision and also reduce anxiety about what to expect during your exam. Your teachers will be happy to mark any past paper questions that you give to them to test your understanding. And finally is the use of examiners' reports. Whenever an exam has been done before, there is always a write-up of how students performed in that exam. And the reports often say things like, "Many students got this wrong," or "Many students confuse this idea with this." So by checking the examiner's reports, you can see if you are making similar mistakes and therefore will not make them in the final exam. So, try using some of the ideas and strategies that we've talked about today and see how effective they are. And remember, a combination of different revision strategies works best, and not every strategy will work for everyone. That brings us to the end of this video on revision skills and strategies. Have fun everybody, and good luck with your exams.